It's time to evaluate Bill Self and the transfer portal.
Hey, what's good, y'all? It's your boy JD6 here. I'm with my man. Shout out to KC Sports Authority. Make sure y'all go check that podcast out, man.
You heard the man.
And welcome into another episode of the KC Sports Authority podcast, where we are live tonight again over here on YouTube. So if you're in here with us right now, thank you so much for already joining us to start. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button below. Be one of the 1,000+ subscribers we have here on the podcast. And we are so grateful for every one of you. As we go along tonight, though, that comment section is always live and hot and ready for your takes, because we got a lot of things to get to. We're going to talk about KU baseball, briefly touch on KU football, and of course we got some KU basketball stuff. And then the main meat of tonight, we're going to talk about the transfer portal, go through some of our top 5 best portal additions, talk about some of the worst portal additions, and then maybe throw out a few of our own lineups with some of these portal edition guys. But Keegan Russell, JB Merker, and Austin Eckert with you guys here tonight. And let's start with this. Austin, we have ourselves a walk-off win in Lawrence today. KU baseball knocks off Omaha 12-8 in a walk-off Grand Slam fashion. I know you were there. I was there for the whole game. It was probably one of the most exciting baseball games I've been to in quite a long time. Definitely the best KU baseball game. But sources say and rumor has it that KU's a baseball school. 8-0 to start the season. They're one win away from program's best start in program history if they win tomorrow.
I'll be there for that game. I'm definitely making my way back to the Hogland tomorrow afternoon. But oh my God,
what I mean, the student section. First off, props to you guys.
Unbelievable! You guys really, it was unbelievable.
You guys were brought it so hard. The security team was trying to shut you down the whole.
Yeah, well, you know what? Screw them. I'm just kidding. No, man, like seeing beer cans being thrown up into the air. I even saw somebody throw one of their crutches up in the air. I guess somebody broke their. I don't know. It was absolutely insane. That to me, and I told you guys this right before we went on the air, that was the most electrifying atmosphere that I have ever seen at a college baseball game. Ever. I've been to so many college baseball games over the years, and I've never seen anything like that for an atmosphere. And I saw something not too long ago that said the attendance at that game for the home opener was the largest home opener attendance for a KU baseball game since 2002, guys.
Yikes.
Like over 20 years.
Come on. Like, are you kidding me?
Tomorrow. Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be sold out tomorrow. Yeah, it better be sold out. You know, I know it's a 3:00 first pitch, and I know some people might have work or other things going on, but I'm telling you, you don't have anything going on. I mean, even if you can't make it to first pitch, try to make your way to the game at least at some point, because you're not going to regret it. I'm telling you, this team is absolutely for real. And granted, they did play Texas A&M Corpus Christi to start and Tarleton State, teams that, maybe when you look on paper, you're like, oh, those are no-name teams. But I'm not going to downplay the 8-0 start for the Kansas Jayhawks, because the Omahawks agenda is very much real. Now, are they going to make it all the way to Omaha this year? Probably not, but just imagine what that would do. I mean, even if they made it to Omaha within the next 5 seasons, that'd be incredible.
See, if you haven't checked them out yet, go check out KU baseball. Coach Fitzgerald is building a program just the same way Lance Leipold was doing with football. So props to them. I do want to touch on football real quick. NFL Combine this week. We got, Devin Neal, Kobe Bryant, Melo Dotson, and Logan Brown out there this week. Supposedly today, Kobe was getting a lot of attention from a lot of scouts, not just with some of the comments he was making about the guys he likes to emulate his game after and talking about his time at Kansas. But we all know his talent and skill set. But good luck to all 4 of those guys this week. At this time, I didn't want to go through any of the numbers. I don't have any numbers on those 4 guys just yet, but we'll be watching very closely, looking for all the comments that come out about them. I think Devin Neal's in a great spot. He's got an opportunity to showcase his off-the-field capabilities, I think, in addition to his on-field. I think a guy like Kobe needs to have a good week too, because he's a guy that talks a lot of game. and is identified as the guy that could get burned on the field when he's the ball hawk type dude. But I think he's got to have a great week this week to slide up some boards. Same with Mel. I think he's going to be good. And then I think Logan Brown's honestly going to surprise some guys too. Just the frame he has. He's an NFL caliber frame. So shout out to those guys this week. Hopefully as we get some numbers on them, we can talk some more about them over the next week. But let's get into basketball here and shout out Robert. Thank you for joining us. What's up, Austin?
What's up, Robert?
Robert is one of the most diehard live watchers that I see because he's I'm on another podcast watching. Robert's also in the comment section, so thank you. Shout out there. But fellas, let's talk some of the transfer portal here in a second. We last week or a week and a half ago we buried this team, RIP, into the 2025 Kansas basketball season. And then
Austin
Bill
still
Self
has the same
decided-
outfit on.
He does. Then Bill Self came out and decided #new season, and that the team was 0-0, whole new mindset. And since then, they've gone 2-0, albeit against two of the worst teams in the Big 12.
Yes.
Get a massive win at home over Oklahoma State, which gone exactly how it should have. And then we go on the road at Colorado late into the early mornings of that game, where that game didn't end until after midnight local time. Barely scraped by. Hunter Dickinson was the most dominant I've seen him in a Kansas uniform, so props to him there. So my question is, two questions. First up, season revival? Are we feeling like there's a little bit left to play for now, or we're still?
Shut up! No, come on.
No,
Come on. I'm sorry. I was like, look, I'm not trying to.
So you're telling me you have no more
I'm
optimism after we're 2-0 in the new season?
Come on.
The two worst teams
undefeated.
in the Big 12. Bro, we are not undefeated. Oh no, it was. I mean, I will say this: after everyone got all hyped over beating the crap out of Oklahoma State, and it's like, dude, we're at home, we're motivated. Oklahoma State sucks. I had no worry about that game, despite all of the troubles that we've faced this season. I was not worried about that game whatsoever. I would say the Colorado game, I want to say I wasn't worried about that game, but being on the road, I think you would have to worry, right? At that point we were 0 for our last 4 road games, I believe.
Yes.
And it's the road, it's the Big 12. Colorado's new again, new-ish, right, to the Big 12, if you want to count that. And they suck. So I didn't give 2 craps that it was on the road, dude. Robert.
Dude, honestly, Robert, you're onto something here. You know what, JB? You always have JB's hot takes. I think it's time for
Robert. No, hold on.
Oh, here we go.
I think you owe Bill Self an apology. You said he was done.
Well, let me ask JB this.
It's 2
Let me ask JB this. If we go on and beat Texas Tech, if we put together a good game against Houston, win or lose, I think if KU just puts up a good fight against Houston, I'd be happy with that. Because clearly it's hard to win in Houston. And they beat Arizona. And we still have postseason left to play as well.
Salvaged.
When is it that JB is going to have to come on here and issue Bill Self an apology? I'm curious.
Hey, I had to do it with Jason Bean last year. You can do it with Bill Self.
You did. Jason Bean did so much to validate you coming to the
because
podcast.
I buried Jason Bean mid-season.
You really did. You really did. Here's the deal. I think I would venture to say we have. Look. I really think this season is over. We have the rest of our schedule not very favorable, and Texas Tech is really good, and I know you know this, Austin. You're a Tech fan, so they're good, and now they're probably going to be undermanned, a little short-handed, right?
They're a little banged up.
Maybe. I don't know.
even if they are, it's like, man, they played really well. They really could have won, and probably they should have won against Houston. They just kind of
They
ran
absolutely
out of
should have.
gas at the end of that game. And it really kind of frustrated me as a Big 12 guy. I'm looking at it like, dude, like you got to help us out. I know we're out of contention for the Big 12, but I don't want to see Houston win 2 years in a row in their first 2 years in the Big 12. No, thank you. And they didn't do us any favors in that regard. Texas Tech is a very good, very scrappy team. I am very worried about that game. Even if we won that game, I still don't think I can give Bill Self an apology. I think if you win 2 of the next 3, we might be talking about an apology. But I mean, we got to get ranked again for one, and I know that's out of like Bill Self's hands, other than just trying to.
Yeah,
win games,
they win Saturday at home. They'll be 23rd in the country.
First we have to be ranked again. But I'm still looking at this like I don't know if there's anything we can do outside of winning out to land us as a better than a 7 seed. Am I wrong? Like, I mean, could we get maybe 6? But like,
I think a 5 seed. I think a 5 seed's
not
on
happening.
the table.
I think we have to win the Big 12 tournament to get a 5 seed.
I think you have to at least get to the semifinal. You got to win 2 of the next 3, and then 2 games in the Big 12 tournament. I think, but realistically, I think this team's a 6 seed. They're a 6 seed,
and it's
which kind of sucks.
Yeah, I've never seen us so low, and it's just sad. It's still and that's like that. The fact that we've done like irreparable damage to our seeding in the tournament this year is more than enough validity to my rant against Bill Self this season, and all the more reason why I don't owe him a single thing. I don't owe him an apology. I mean, you can put JB's apology at the bottom of the screen all you want. Not really gonna happen. And what's Robert saying now? We don't talk about the old season anymore.
Undefeated. Old season's gone. It's in the past.
I just find it really hilarious that this whole new season thing started right after we all did our little funeral for the KU program.
After every KU podcast in the area did that.
Well, it was our idea first, and
we did get ours up first. That is true.
See, you heard it here first on KCSA Pod.
It may have been could be wrong that took up the mantle of hashtag new season with their group, but I think all Jayhawk fans, first off, we're glad old season is done and gone. We're content that new season is here and we're undefeated. I think the question is how much optimism do we have these last 3 games? Personally, I think KU goes 2-1, and I think winning both home games, and I do think KU puts up a fight in Houston because they have to and we need them to. I don't think they win in Houston, but I do think they find a way. Like can they be close within the last 5 minutes of a game to where it looks like they're neck and neck with Houston. And again, as much as I'm not going to get into on this, I do think KJ is going to play a very important role in that game because of the physicality and the way they play. I think KJ actually fits that. But
it sounds like everyone wants me to have a little bit more positivity. I don't know. Maybe if I throw in a little bit more positivity, Robert will give me a shout out instead of Austin. So I got a bone to pick with you, Robert. I see there's favoritism being shown here, and I will remember this for next time. But yeah, I think there's obviously I'm happy, but there's work to do, boys. There's a scrappy Texas Tech team that's waiting for us, and man, we just got to put in work. I don't know how I'm going to feel good about this season, but Robert, I see you. I don't know how I'm going to feel good about the season unless I'll say this. I will feel good if we somehow manage to get a 4 seed, because then at that point we won't be the lowest seed ever. Like, we'll be tied, right? That doesn't count. If I've never seen us as a 5th or lower in my time as a Kansas fan, so that if we can be a 4 or better, it'll take probably winning out the rest of the season. But if we can be a 4 or better, I will love it.
So last thing before we get into transfer portal, Austin, Saturday you get to call in what's going to be a sad but fun day for you. calling your last KU basketball game on student radio. Just so happens to be against a team you also grew up watching. Take me through how you're preparing for this call on Saturday against Texas Tech.
This entire week. No. Yeah. Yes, I am gonna cry. You know what? I am gonna cry. I am gonna. I'm gonna be like Cyclone Jim Carrey. No, but I don't cry very often. I don't usually get emotional anymore. But Saturday is gonna be one of those days for sure. And it's crazy that I'm calling my final game there for the student radio against Texas Tech. It could have been any other team, but it just so happened to be against Texas Tech. And, I found out that I was calling the game last weekend, and my sports director was like, have you done a game at the Fog yet? And I was like, I haven't done one yet this season. And he was like, okay, well, you're doing the Texas Tech game then, unless you want me to hand it to somebody else. And I was like, no, please don't, please. I'd love to do it. No, but am I gonna? Robert said mixed emotions no matter the outcome of the game. I feel like I'm in a spot where like I feel like I can't lose. Now, am I like from it? Hang on, JB. Hang on. Let me speak. Okay. I know you're sitting there going, well, you're gonna be happy that Texas Tech won. No. That's not what I'm saying. But like deep down inside, like, if Tech were to go on and win Saturday, I'm gonna be like, good job, Tech. Good job. But the more than half of me is gonna be like, KU, why did you lose? Like why are you losing to Tech? Really? And that's kind of how I felt 2 football seasons ago when Texas Tech played Kansas at the booth, and when Jason Bean went down with an injury and everything.
Yep.
I even called that game too. That was great. That was my last game that I ever called at the old booth. So that was pretty cool. Patrick Mahomes was also in the press box too at times, and I walked by him a few times, and it was really cool. But circling back to this to the game on Saturday, it's going to be emotional. It really will be, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I think the guy that I'm calling it with on Saturday, it's also going to be his final game at the Fog. So I obviously don't want it, the broadcast to be all about me and this and that. I want it to be about us, calling, our final game at the Fog together, if that is true. And I want it to be one of the best broadcasts I've ever done. And do I think Pat will be at the end? That's a great question.
There's a good chance. He doesn't have a lot going on right now.
No, I think he's back in Dallas working with his trainer, because I know he lives in Dallas during the off season. But in terms of how I'm preparing for the game, I've already put together some spot charts. I've already gone through, some of the statistics for Tech, and I got to say, offensively, they're one of the best teams in the country, and I think they're second in the Big 12 in 3-point shooting and effective field goal range too, I believe. I mean, this team that Kansas is going up against is nearly shooting 50% from the three. I mean, it's unbelievable. I could be wrong. I think it's in the upper 30s, lower 40s. Someone please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I mean, this is a really good basketball team, and
they play, like, again, not to make fun of Bruce Weber years ago at K-State, but he always talked about the play hard meter. Texas Tech play hard meter is here all the time. Grant McCaslin has done a terrific job since he's taken over. They're a very scrappy hard team. To me, they're the team. I think I have them winning the Big 12 tournament. I think they're a team that can take the mantle from what Iowa State's typically done in Big 12 tournament play. I think they just play really hard, and they're just a tough team to knock out. So, I have a lot of respect for them. I think Grant McCaslin is going to be a great coach for years to come. I think getting JT Toppin in the portal was a good find. They have gone out and built a good culture of play really hard, and success will tend to follow.
Yeah, Grant McCaslin comes from the Scott Drew coaching tree as well. So he was with Scott Drew for quite a bit at Baylor, and then he went to I think he went somewhere before he went to North Texas. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know he was at North Texas prior to coming to Tech. And I gotta say, coaches that come out of the coaching tree of Scott Drew are pretty good. I mean, Jerome Tang, I'm not even going to say it. There was I saw something that a K-State guy said, "Oh, not to throw dirt on Bill Self or anything, but he said something about, having Jerome Tang than Bill Self is one of the stupidest things I've ever
Yeah, I
seen.
saw that going on Twitter today from one of the K-State podcasts.
Like, seriously?
They said they would rather.
You want Jerome Tang over
I
Bill
didn't watch
Self?
all of
Are you
it, but
kidding me?
they're basically identifying like this season has been so bad that tells them what it's the dumbest take I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Absolute dumbest take. Does Austin remember the classic 2022?
Oh my God! I sat second row in the student section on the band side. Oh my God, that was like leading up to maybe the UConn or the North Carolina game earlier in the season, UConn last year. That Texas Tech game was literally one of the best games I've ever seen, for basketball, and one of the best I've ever seen at the Fog. And that game went into double overtime. Ochai hit that game-tying three in the first overtime period, and the net didn't even move. Seriously? Like, see, this is why I miss Ochai and all these other players that were on that national champ. God, man, it was such a great game. Texas Tech was really good that year. That was the year they were coming off of Chris Beard pulling off the worst, and I mean the worst, April Fool's prank anybody could ever pull, because this guy had the audacity on April 1st to leave Texas Tech for his alma mater, UT. And we all thought, oh, is this a joke? Oh, did all these news reporters get hacked? Like, is this really happening? Yes. And I'll tell you exactly why that happened, because Chris Beard wanted to wait until April 1st because I think his buyout was going to be a lot cheaper at that time. So he waited, ironically, until April Fool's Day to be like, all right, Tech, I love you. Thank you for a great 6 years. I'm going to UT. I'm going to the school that you guys hate the most. And am I kind of like, listen,
he did you guys a favor. He saved you some money.
Was I a little ticked? Was I not even a little ticked off. Was I ticked off when that happened? You bet I was. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Can you imagine if no, I'm not. This will never happen. This will never happen, okay? I want to make that clear. Can you imagine Bill Self? Let's say he went to K-State for school. Even though he didn't, he went to Oklahoma State. Or, maybe he left for Oklahoma State. Either way, I mean, I know Kansas didn't really hate Oklahoma State a whole lot, but let's just say that Bill Self went to K-State, and then on April 1st, he said, all right, I'm going to leave KU for K-State. Wouldn't you be like pulling hair out of your head? Would you be having a generational crash out, like the biggest crash out that the whole world has ever seen? Yes, you would. And you know what? Every single Tech fan was having the most generational crash out of all time. I was having a crash out. I remember I was doing online classes, right? I was in the middle of this class, and I was just about to get done. I get notifications on my phone from Twitter from Jeff Goodman saying that Chris Beard has left Texas Tech for Texas. And I was like, okay, this is a Jeff, Goodman burner. This isn't real. And then I get on Twitter, Chris Beard leaving for Texas. Chris Beard leaving for Texas. Chris Beard leaving for Texas. I'm like, and a fun fact about me, growing up, I actually ran a Texas Tech sports page growing up. And when I found out that Chris Beard left for UT, I actually did a live. I recorded myself crashing out. I still have it on my phone to this day. And it's genuinely funny. It really is. And I was sitting there going, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And then I said something about the Tech baseball coach. And I was like, I wonder if he could coach hoops. I'm sure he'd do a better job than Chris Beard. That's how.
Didn't he also turn around and leave and go to Texas this last year?
Tech baseball is pretty good. Well, they're not very good this season, but they do have a pretty good baseball coach over there. But that's what I was kind of ranting about. But
anyway, that's too much Texas. Too much Texas Tech talk. This is a KU. Kansas
I know. Well, it's Texas Tech week, to be fair.
But didn't Texas Tech's baseball coach also leave them for Texas this last year?
No, he actually got offered. He got offered the job, and he was like, "You must be out of your effing mind."
No, somebody, I thought it was somebody down there. Anyway,
I think it was. You're thinking of the Texas A&M coach.
Maybe that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah, this is the Texas A&M coach.
let's get into the meat and potatoes of tonight's
Let's do
episode. Evaluating Bill Self in the transfer portal. Now, for those of you watching live, you'll see this. Those of you that listen later or on Spotify, I'm going to throw up a graphic here in a second that has a list of all of the transfer portal players that have transferred into Kansas since Bill Self's tenure as head coach. There are 28 players. AJ Storr is the reason we're doing this discussion. AJ Storr is probably the biggest confusion head scratcher when it comes to the transfer portal of guy that could be successful and is underperforming. So there's a couple things we're going to do. We're going to go through our top 5 portal additions. We're going to talk about the best of the portal. We're going to throw out some of our best 5-man lineups of guys that have transferred into Kansas. We're also going to go through our biggest portal whiffs. Shout out Texas Tech, great Kevin McCullough. Guarantee you he will pop up on this
Tech
list.
for sending Kevin McCullough our way.
Yes.
I can enjoy him both ways.
So biggest portal whiff, one of them we're obviously going to be AJ Storr. So before we get into this list, I just want again quick thought. Why isn't it working for AJ Storr? Bill has spoken and defended him this week in Hawk Talk, saying that he's working really hard, that the guy really cares, and his attitude, despite not performing well in the court, his attitude's great. Kansas fans don't want to hear it. We don't care. AJ Storr's been bad. All of us preseason saw this coming. We thought that the fit was going to be awkward. Is that really what is it? Is it the fact that it's the fit and it's not the yes, he's statistically gotten worse in every category, but it's me it's because of the fit, not because AJ has regressed as a player. I think we went out and got a talented player and said, hey, you're going to now play Kansas basketball, when it turns out that AJ Storr plays AJ Storr basketball and not Kansas. Not to mention that Wisconsin's a better team this year than Kansas. But is it just the fit? I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on why AJ Storr hasn't worked, because it hasn't. Now, Bill says that there's still going to be a game over the next 2 weeks that he wins a game for us, but I don't see it. But AJ Storr has been a disappointment. Yeah, I think Robert, I think you're onto something. Bill doesn't want to admit when he's wrong. So let's do it. Let's get into the transfer portal. 28 players here, and yes, I'm going to cut JB's face off for a second.
Oh,
28 players. The criteria for this was players that did not start their careers at Kansas but have transferred in. So by my account, going through this again today, there's 28 players. Dedrick Lawson, KJ Lawson, Dwight Colby, Hunter Mickelson, Remy Martin, Cam Martin, Sam Cunliffe, Joe Yesufu, Isaiah Moss, Jeff Withey, AJ Storr, Kevin McCullough, Zeke Mayo, Shaq Moore, Jalen Coleman-Lands, Tyrone Appleton, Tarek Black, Kevin Young, Malik Newman, Roderick Stewart, Mario Little, Charlie Moore, Tyon Grant Foster, shout out Tyon Grant Foster, who's tearing it up at Grand Canyon, Justin Wesley, everyone's favorite Nick Timberlake, everyone's new least favorite Hunter Dickinson, Rylan Griffin, and Diggy Hoyt. So there's a lot that I just threw out on there. I'll throw this graphic back up in a second there. But here's what we did. So I told these guys ahead of time this is what we were going to do. I gave them some rules on how this is going to be, and I got to catch up here in the comment section real quick. We will be there for Story of the Miracles. Love it. Would hope that that's the case. Bill Self isn't the reason AJ can't catch a ball. Correct. Yeah. I'm not saying that AJ is not responsible for a lot of his failures, because he is. I think it's just funny that Bill's really defending him this week. Don't get me wrong. Love Self, even fist bump him at the game.
There you go.
Andrew, what's up? Andrew Markley, shout out, my bro. He's not top 5, but I love Tarek Black. I love me some Tarek Black. I've always told JB this back in Tarek Black and Jamari Traylor days. I always called them the Bruise Brothers, because when the two of them were out there, they just mauled everybody. Yeah, some names we're all going to see thrown out here. Remy, of course, being one of them. So let's do this. Let's do top 5 portal additions first. I'm going to kick this off. I'm not saying these are 1 through 5. These are just the 5 guys that we think have made the best impact on the program as an incoming transfer portal. Here's the 5 guys I'm going to throw at you. Kevin McCullough, Dedrick Lawson, Malik Newman, Remy Martin, Jeff Withey. Those are my 5. Now, I'm not saying those are the best 5. I'm just saying that those are the 5 that I think have made the biggest impact as an incoming transfer portal from a production standpoint to career standpoint. Thoughts on that, / who do you guys think are the 5 most influential transfer portal additions we have had? And for the sake of this, I'll throw this graphic back up on the screen. Obviously, a couple of these guys are national championship winners. Some had greater impacts than others. Some played longer than others. And yes, I did leave Hunter Dickinson off that, despite the fact that he's a stat stuffer. I think he has impacted the program in a negative manner. So again, my 5: Dedrick Lawson, Remy Martin, Malik Newman, Kevin McCullough, and Jeff Withey.
Yeah. It's a pretty good list. I mean, if I had to pick, my top 5, and they may not be the best 5, I'd have to also say Kevin McCullough. He's definitely one of them. And then Dedrick Lawson has to be my other pick, alongside yours. There's something I want to include Jalen Coleman Lands.
I almost I almost asked you to put it back up because I was like, oh shoot. I was thinking literally that whole time ever since it came off, I was like, oh shoot, I should have done something really funny like picking my nose and just I was like, then you put it back up. I'm like, yes. I was literally, you had that up for a really long time. I was literally like this for like whatever that was, 2 whole minutes straight.
Great. That was great.
Anyway,
good comedy, good comedic relief there.
Anyway, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Is it my turn? I'm like hardly paying attention.
Well, I said Kevin, Dedrick, and then I was going to bring up Jalen Coleman Lands for a second because he might be one of the best 6-man guys that I've seen play at Kansas. I mean, do y'all remember the time where Jalen Coleman Lands nearly hit that game-winning shot against Texas on Senior Day? Everybody thought he had made it, but he was like half a second late, and we were all like, ah! But it was still like an awesome moment because I thought he had actually made the shot. But I'd have to go Dedrick, Kevin. I want to Malik Newman maybe. I think Malik Newman. I probably have to include him in there. I do agree with Jeff Withey, though. I thought he was really good. And then my last one would be Remy. So nearly similar to Keegan's, but JB, what do you think?
So, okay. I like that. I basically made a starting 5, and my starting 5
we can roll straight into that too.
Let's do that as a segue because my top 5 are a starting 5, a realistic looking starting 5. So, I feel like this should be no shock. It's Remy Martin, it's Malik Newman, it's Kevin McCullough, and at the 4, specifically at the 4, Hunter Dickinson. And I know we just shat upon Hunter Dickinson all season. I don't care. Like if you look at the list, and if you try to look at it objectively, I just can't ignore the stats. Look, I got to include him. I can't leave him off. So
he's got some of the best statistical numbers of a 5-man we've seen.
He does. Shout out to Robert. You said, and yes, Hunter. And I think you said it that way because, yes, Hunter,
Derek.
He's there. Yes, I know, Derek. I know, Derek. I know. Yes, Hunt at the 4. You know why? Because you know who's at the 5? Jeff Withey, baby. I love Jeff Withey. And I always have to shout out respect to Jeff Withey.
7-foot white guys in your lineup.
Jeff Withey can't hit a 3. Jeff Withey can block shots. Jeff Withey can get rebounds. Jeff Withey can do everything that we've been criticizing Hunter for not doing all season. That's why Jeff Withey's my number 5.
100%.
So if you put Hunter at the 4, who can actually hit 3s, I really think that he would have less pressure to get all the rebounds when he's got Jeff Withey standing right next to him. So you've got Jeff, Hunter. I wish I could say Hunter Mickelson, but I took a picture with him once. Love the guy.
Dude, I did that. I told you, I did that all last year. I kept doing Hunter Dickinson and Hunter Mickelson.
Yeah,
completely.
But yeah, it's Jeff, Hunter, Kevin McCullough, Malik Newman, and Remy Martin. Dedrick Lawson was kind of like a honorable mention for me, if you will. That's true, Andrew. Jeff Withey is 100% from off of one shot, and I was there for that game, and it was amazing. But Dedrick Lawson, I just feel like if you compare Diedrich to Hunter and Jeff, he's just the worst of the three. That's kind of why I had to leave him out. And I'll say he's the worst of the three because while he might have been a little bit more efficient than Hunter in certain respects, he was just as unathletic because he never dunked either. It drove me crazy. And then I've got Zeke Mayo as like an honorable kind of like bench guy off my list.
Yeah,
so,
Zeke was my sixth man. That I guess we didn't say that, but Zeke was my sixth man.
Also, but the season's not over. It might be over in my eyes, but like I don't think he can unseat guys like Remy who won a title, guys like Malik who got us all the way to the Final Four, and off of a magical run at that. I don't think if you take out the postseason, Malik Newman probably doesn't make this list, but you have to include the postseason. So that was really good. But yeah, that's my list. That's my 5 plus 2.
Guten Tag,
Hi, John. John, you should have. I don't know if you were in here for it, but I went off on Chris Beard for a little bit. You should have been there for it, and you know how ticked off I was. I was pretty upset. John knows exactly how I felt during that moment. But we won't get into Texas Tech talk anymore.
Austin, anything different in your starting 5? Like, give me your best starting 5 of transfer portal players. The best 5-man lineup you can roll out there.
Oh,
I do think the Diedrich middle pick and roll with Doak. It is a shame that season was taken away from us with Doak's injury.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be similar to what I said in my best 5 transfer players to come out of the transfer portal or to come to KU out of the transfer portal, I should say. But I would definitely and this isn't in order, but I'd say Dedrick, Kevin, Jeff for sure. I'm also going to add Malik Newman in there. I mean, he was pretty good. And then in the final spot, I'm gonna put Remy in there. And then my 6th man, give me Jalen Coleman Lands. I'm not kidding.
Y'all are tripping, bro.
Jalen was a baller.
On one, dude. Yeah, not for us.
Anytime I remember specifically the Iowa State game during the Natty year when we went on the road and won in Ames. And I remember, I don't know who was out or who didn't play in that game, but I know somebody got hurt. I forgot who it was. But I know Jalen Coleman Lands started that game, I believe, and he went off and had like 3 or 4 threes. It made a big difference.
He was a microwave.
Yeah.
Gets hot quick. Green light, corner threes, spot up. He was great. I mean, you always need that type of player. I think I would take Zeke though, just because of shot creation and ball handling. But yeah. I think that's. Sure. I mean, that's the same starting 5 I have. I wanted to go as much as Hunter's probably the most talented big of the transfer portal guys.
Yes.
Just roster construction to me made it difficult. I'd rather have a defensive anchor in Withy, and then a shot creator. Stretch the floor 4 in Diedrich Lawson, and then let my guards go out and cook. Like Malik and Remy could both cook. When they get going, they can really get going. And then Kevin's your lockdown to your perimeter defender. There's still a little bit of spacing issues there, but senior year Kevin, I think, could shoot a lot better. Derek also throws out there Remy, Malik, Kevin, Diedrich, Jeff Withy, Hunt, and Zeke off the bench. Yeah, that'd be a nasty 7 right
That's
there.
Very fair.
For sure. Yeah. Obviously, if we wanted to go deeper into this, you could do a lot. But I think to me, as I looked at this, I told these 2 guys off air earlier, to me, your starting 5 really depends on who you play at center. If you're playing Hunter at center, you got to spread them out with shooters. If you play Jeff Withy at center, then you need to have another big man that can score from another spot on the court. I think if you want to go Tariq Black and go more bruising, I think you could do that too. So I think there's a good argument here. Doesn't mean that these 5-man lineups we throw out there are the 5 best players, but the guys that if we had to put them out there tomorrow, the 5 guys I would trust the most to go get it done. That's why I picked.
So hold on before we move on to.
I didn't say roster construction, but I did say the best 5-man lineup.
Before
not
we
best
move
5
on to
overall
the duds,
players.
We have to before we mention the duds, we have to mention our guy, our favorite, Cam Martin. Come on, Keegan. Come on. What about Cam Martin? Look, here's the deal.
Hey, shout out
I know
Cam. He is in the Detroit Pistons G League team and having a pretty decent season.
For anyone that's new to the podcast, we here at KCSA Pod are buddies with Cam Martin, or at least in our fantasy land, we are buddies with Cam Martin. Cam Martin never got his chance to truly shine. Why? Because he was injured his entirety, like the entirety of his career at Kansas. He was injured and just didn't really ever get off the ground. I mean, it was just kind of like, or I guess he was on the ground. Anyway, but you know what I mean. He was gonna come in, and we were making predictions at the start of this podcast in its infancy. We were out on here saying Cam Martin is gonna be our starting five. He's gonna be our starting five man. He's gonna be leading this team, and we were dead wrong, but only because of injury. I will always say that it was only because of injury. He's a very talented guy.
So Cam told me himself. Back then, he told me himself, had he not gotten injured in that walkthrough whatever preseason game with I think it was Illinois, that he was going to be the starting five man at least for the opening night.
This is
I don't know how that would have gone throughout the year, but ended up, KJ gets the starting five spot. Zuby doesn't take it. Ernest Uday doesn't take it. Zach Clemens doesn't take it. We had five guys that could play the five man. And turns out that nobody was good enough to take it. But yeah, shout out Cam. It would have been fun to see what he could have been with his skill set, because I watched a lot of tape on him after we signed him. And I was like, man, having a stretch five could be really interesting. He didn't quite have the same size you needed out of a true five at the Big 12 and NCAA Division I level. But I think he could have been fun for sure. But all right, now let's get into the I think actually the more fun part of the worst of the worst of the transfer portal. So I'm going to throw this graphic back up. For some of you that maybe are newer KU fans that don't recognize some of these names, let's go back a little bit. Tyrone Appleton, back in the 2010 to 2011 season, came in. It was supposed to be a very important piece from the guard perspective. Never really did a ton. Elijah and Tyshawn really locked that down, and there just wasn't any playing time. And then there was Nadir Tharp. So he was here in a flash and gone in a flash. Let's see, guys. Also, Roderick Stewart, throwback. He was the first. Yes, Roderick Stewart was the first transfer into the program for Bill Self. I'm forgetting where he came from off the top of my head, but his brother Lodrick played over at USC. But Roderick Stewart was the first one. You go back a little bit ways there too. Kevin Young back on the 2012 national championship team. A lot of people forget about Dwight Colby and Hunter Mickelson. Two interesting five guys that we brought in. Sam Cunliffe is definitely on one of my lists coming up here in a moment. One of my favorite guys on this list, Justin Wesley, the half brother of Keith Langford. That's really cool. Justin Wesley also, played Wilt Chamberlain in that Jayhawker movie. So throwback there. And then of course, Mario Little, another, I think he was a fan favorite, didn't play a whole lot, but post KU time, he's been on a lot of the fun teams KU's had for the TBT tournament and all that. So a lot of cool names on here. Tyon Grant Foster, another fun one who's actively still playing. JP's over here bored out of his mind waiting for me to So let's do it. Let's get into the biggest portal whiffs outside of AJ Storr. Let's go one at a time.
What, outside?
JB also, outside. I mean, AJ Storr probably gets the top because of how the season's gone. Outside of AJ Storr, JB, who is your biggest transfer portal whiff? And doesn't necessarily have to be the guy that maybe because I know people could say, well, Roderick Stewart, he didn't do a lot. I'm really talking about the guy that came in, you had true expectations for, and he didn't deliver.
Okay, so because you said outside of AJ Storr, I can't actually mention that AJ Storr was in my top 5 list of.
Well, you can. We'll do the top 5 in a minute. I just want you to give me your biggest whiff outside of AJ Storr.
Outside of him, there's no other answer. Come on, it's Nick Timberlake. Come on. I'm sorry. It's like, come on. We all thought he was going to come here as like one of the best shooters, if not the best shooter in the transfer portal. We all had high hopes that he would carry us to a natty. It was just, awful. And I know, despite how awful he was, we all cheered like crazy when he actually played a decent game, which wasn't very often. But he had his moments. Nick Timberlake was god awful though, and I just can't see any other name other than AJ Storr. It's like AJ Storr and Nick Timberlake. It's funny that they're both very recent names. I think that's part of the like fuel to the fire when you talk about just the overall depression that Kansas fans are facing these days. But it's Nick Timberlake by a mile. I think there's other names that come to mind that were just underwhelming. I don't know if you want, I can go through my list.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's go straight into give me your 5-man group of whiffs.
I saw earlier, Derek, I'm going to post this. You said you included Joe Yesufu in here. I do not have Joe Yesufu on my list. I was battling. I was going back and forth. Maybe my memory is fuzzy, but I feel like I was ultimately more just annoyed with Chuck Moore. Like I thought Chuck was, Charlie, good old Charlie. He was a big just letdown. Every time I watched him, I just felt like I was just so pissed off. It was Charlie Moore. It was Nick Timberlake. Sam Cunliffe never developed into anything for us. We thought he would. And I'm going to throw, because I was making lineups, I'm going to throw Dwight Colby in here as just an overwhelm. Like you look at the list, he's probably one of the worst 5 guys or just big men in general. That's our transfer list. But I have honorable or like bench guys, 6th and 7th man on here. KJ Lawson, who never really did much for us, but also I'm going to add Tyon Grant Foster into this list. And I'm going to say Tyon Grant Foster because although he developed into a wonderful talent, it wasn't with us. He might have had a couple flashes at best. He was awful for our program. And then he just essentially became irrelevant, and that's why he transferred away. Tyon Grant Foster, I wish he would have been what he is now for us back in the day. But when we're talking about KU,
I think he'd fit perfect on this roster right now.
Now he would, yeah. But back in the day, no.
All right, Austin, give us your 5-man group of portal whiffs.
Well, to start off, Nick Timberlake, obviously one of them. I see some comments though. Oh, Joe Yesufu. Listen,
Hey,
I kind of like Joe Yesufu. Not gonna lie. Yeah, granted, some of the best games he had were during, some of the losses that KU had with him while he was here. I totally get it. But hey, he's doing really well at West Virginia, and he got his revenge, unfortunately, on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
So good for him. My 5 worst players that come out of the transfer portal come to KU, though. Timberlake, definitely one of them. Charlie Moore, obviously. I'm just kind of, looking through the list. I mean, Sam Cunliffe, yeah, I'd probably throw him in there as well. Y'all mentioned Tyon Grant Foster. He's a great player at GCU, but he didn't really develop into the player that we wanted to have and everything. So I'd probably throw him in there as well. And then did I mention Charlie Moore already?
To me, Charlie Moore and Joe Yesufu are the same player. They're both small guards that were supposed to come in and shoot well, and neither did.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Screw it. I mean, I guess I'll throw Joe Yesufu in there too. But I do appreciate Joe Yesufu for, I guess, like I've kind of entered into a world where I've started to appreciate what Joe Yesufu was and did for KU at times.
He had his moments.
But in all seriousness, if we're talking about the biggest portal whiffs, I mean, unfortunately, I'm going to have to throw Joe Yesufu in there as well to make that 5. So
does it go AJ Storr 1, Nick Timberlake 2?
I think so.
Who's number 3?
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't include AJ Storr because Keegan said outside of AJ Storr, obviously, but.
See, to me, once you get to number 3, I think that's where it gets tough because I look at the big guys on here. Dwight Colby, Hunter Mickelson were very underwhelming, but they really weren't brought in to be much more than an average role player. So to me, it's a hodgepodge group of wings. Your Tyon Grant Foster, your Sam Cunliffe. Sam Cunliffe, stupid talented athlete, tremendous shooter, dropped 50 on people at the rec all the time. Because I was at KU during that stretch, couldn't do anything on the court, never really got run play time. Transferred to Evansville and was a baller. Charlie Moore, Joe Yesufu, it's a really ragtag group of guys. Not, I mean, there's the point of doing all this was to help fans that are really frustrated with the AJ Storr, with to realize that sometimes you get it right, sometimes you don't. But as I look at this list, I'd say a good half of the list are guys we hit on pretty well, and half of the list were guys that
Well,
underperformed. So you average that out, you're not going to get the best transfer year in and year out, and not everyone's going to perform at a high level. To me, what I notice is the group of guys that have underperformed have a lot of similarities, and it's the fact that they play a certain play style, and then they come here, and that play style doesn't just smoothly integrate into a Bill Self system.
Can I add one thing real quick? Because I think Andrew commented, name a good Yesufu moment. I don't remember any. One that I can think of right off the top
Didn't he
of my
have a
head.
breakaway dunk?
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up. During the year after the Natty with Grady Dick, they played Texas at home, and I think Yesufu got a pass and dribbled it down the court and threw it down, and everybody was like, I had no idea Yesufu could dunk, and it threw me off too, and that was pretty electric, not going to lie. So there's a good Yesufu moment for you, Andrew.
Yep, Derek, that's what he was just referencing that game.
Yep.
Isn't Joe Yesufu the guy from like that viral clip of like someone was going for a dunk and the other guy was going to block it and like they kissed?
He got dunked.
Rim? Like wasn't
No,
yeah, like,
I don't know if it was that. I know he got
wasn't he
dunked on
there?
really hard. Like he
I
got dunked on
swear
real
it's-
hard, fell back, hit his head on the ground.
I swear it's Joe Yesufu. If anyone
might
knows
be.
what I'm talking about, let me know. I might be crazy, but I swear it's like there's this clip that went viral on Twitter one time.
We slept better at night when I left.
Dude, that's true. But like, yeah, he went up to dunk it, and like him and the defender just like kissed as they collided. But I don't know.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah,
I'm just,
yeah.
When he was at Drake. Okay.
Thank you, Andrew. Okay, Andrew's proving that I'm not just having weird fantasies about Joe Yesufu.
But yeah, that's I don't have much
That
else.
silence was too long after that.
One guy we didn't even bring up at all that probably has a potential spot on a 5-man roster or at least a 7-man rotation was Isaiah Moss. Huge for the 2020 team that would have won the national championship. I mean, you talk about a guy who was one of the best shooters in the transfer portal that came in and hit the Kansas system almost immediately. He had like a week or two stretch where he struggled a little bit. But Isaiah Moss was huge. He fit perfectly alongside Dot, Marcus Garrett, Doak, and LeGerald Vick, and I'm forgetting whoever else was on the team until before Vick left. I guess Ochai would have been a sophomore that year too. But Isaiah Moss should give him a lot of love. I like Diggy for what he does. Yes, I think by the time Diggy's time at Kansas is done, I think he's certainly going to be on the fan favorites of favorite all-time 5 transfer portal guys. For sure, because he just plays really hard, and I'm excited for Diggy next year because I think he's gonna ball out. Gosh, these are coming in fast, so I missed with this one. J. Cole started when Ochai had COVID, hit 2 threes versus Iowa State, and then Cable. Yep, remember that. Andrew loved Moss. He was old and confident. Moss was perfect. So again, the whole point of this was to look back and say, how has Bill Self done in the transfer portal? Overall, I think he's done just fine. There's been guys he's missed on. There's been guys that we didn't have high expectations of that came in and performed well, and then there's been guys that have just kind of been average. I think the point of this though is to realize that there's probably I can't think of many programs that consistently hit the transfer portal well. And now that we're in the day and age where the portal is going to be a constant thing year in and year out, I still, for the most part, trust what Bill Self has been doing. I think moving forward, though, I do feel he's going to be more selective, and he's going to get guys that I think he's going to be more selective in guys that fit the program, fit what they need. Rylan Griffin, I thought, was the perfect transfer addition in this offseason. Hasn't quite worked out. They've kind of turned him into mostly a spot-up corner 3 shooter. But I think Griffin was a type of guy that Bill Self went, hey, that type of player would fit into our system. Again, just hasn't worked out completely with the way the rotation is with KJ and Hunter clogging up the paint. But I think Bill's going to start getting more selective this offseason in the portal, and he's going to bring in guys that play hard first off, play defense, have the physical tool set, and then work around it. Derek said Self cannot bring this many guys in. I hope that's not the case next year. We hope we start getting some bigger. If you got to be honest, guys, one thing that hasn't been talked enough about the last two years maybe is the fact that the NCAA case was really holding us back with high school recruiting. KU was not getting the top high school recruits. And if you're not getting the top high school recruits, would you rather have an underperforming 3-star freshman or a guy that's at least played 1 or 2 seasons somewhere at a high level? So I think that's going to start shifting. KU's got 3 guys in the class next year. I think they're going to continue. They would have had a good even better freshman class if we didn't lose LeBaron and Philon. But I think Bill Self's going to start looking more that route, and the guys he pulls in the portal are going to be more role players that fit specific needs. I don't think we're going to see that much more of we're looking to find our star in the transfer portal. I think, the Hunter Dickinson excitement maybe went a little too far that, hey, we'll just go get the best player in the portal and we'll figure it out because that hasn't worked this year. I'm not saying AJ Storr was the best guy in the portal, but looking back, you could say AJ Storr was not as good of a fit as a guy like a Kobe Bray who went to Kentucky and is the best 3-point shooter in college basketball right now, averaging close to 15 to 16 a game, coming off the bench for Kentucky most nights. But the transfer portal giveth, the transfer portal taketh. I've said that before on multiple episodes. Overall, though, I think we're in a pretty good spot. Yes, I think Ryland's also due for a breakout game. It's probably going to come at home. I don't see it being on the road. That's just the way this team plays. They play better at home. Same as Zeke. I bet Zeke and Ryland combined for 8 threes Saturday. Wouldn't be shocked. Kansas didn't lose anyone to the portal last year. That is true. Not a single guy, but we did lose, some recruitment as far as Philon goes. And then Andrew here, I want Bill to go portal a tough. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what everybody thinks this team needs is you need again, love DeJuan. I think DeJuan's been perfectly fine. I think all the hate DeJuan gets is misguided. We want DeJuan to be something he's not. We want DeJuan to be Frank Mason, Sharon Collins, Devontae Graham, Devon Dotson, and he's just not that type of player. So don't ask him to be. But yeah, Darren Peterson coming in next year. You need a tough-minded guard that can attack downhill, whether that's El Marco taking the next step and being that guy, a transfer portal addition that can play an attacking downhill style of basketball. Honestly, so much of the roster I would love to think is going to get better just with the departures of Hunter, KJ, and DeJuan, just because that fit has just we've exhausted talking about the 3 of them. In a perfect world, all 3 are great that day and KU wins. But when one of the 3 of them struggles, KU loses. So I think a lot of that's gonna get fixed in the offseason. Yeah, Juan was never supposed to be a scorer. He's never going to be a scorer the way he plays. But transfer portal's fun. I'm going to throw some more of this stuff up over the next couple of weeks. Just some more individual players because I think it's fun to look back. I think Dedrick Lawson, again, somebody said earlier, put up great stats in a losing season, sure, but we also lost Doak at the start of the year for most of that year. So Dedrick was putting up 25 and 10 with nothing around him. But transfer portal's fun. I also want to do an addition someday where we'll do what ifs. The guys that transferred out that didn't stick out at Kansas. We'll do another one with that. Guys that transferred out, what could have been had they stayed, or guys that left for the draft a year too early. Things like that. But yeah, that's all I got in this one. Any other transfer portal thoughts you guys have?
Nope.
Anybody we didn't talk about that deserves some love?
I'll just say this though.
I know we didn't really talk about Zeke much or Shaq or Diggy. Fine. They're currently playing. The season's still going.
But here's what I'll say about AJ. Even though the season is still going, I hope this doesn't just kill my entire point. But we looked through these names and we talked about all these great memories from guys that really lit it up and guys that really stunk it up, right? But I'm looking back at this list and I still don't see a single name on this list that had, other than Hunter, that had more of a, like, I guess more expectations and
Sure.
just like the high caliber name, that AJ has. We expected the world of a guy like AJ Storr. As I mean, he is just as good as a 5-star freshman coming in. He's
I would
just
agree.
as good as a maybe first or second team All American type of guy that is coming in into this program, and he stunk, and he stinks for us. I don't know what the deal is. I guess it's the fit. I guess he just has too short of a leash. I don't know.
Yes, Derek. Yes.
But man, Derek, if Storr somehow turns it on, wow.
I don't think he's
do we change
capable
this
of.
conversation?
He is an incredibly inefficient scorer. He's got to take 15 shots to get his production, and that's never going to happen in the system. And until he shows he can be efficient on 3 or 4 shots, I wouldn't expect it.
If he has a Mr.
I think
March
it's more
type
likely.
run,
I think it's more likely Zeke's our Mr. March because of his ability to shoot the ball.
right? But if it was Storr, do we all owe AJ Storr an apology for making an entire podcast?
Oh, it's the same thing,
him?
David. It's the same
Like,
thing David
dude.
McCormick went through. Everyone hated on David McCormick until he had one of his best games in the biggest moments. And
Yeah.
it is very possible David McCormick's numbers will hang in the rafters someday. It'll be a tough stretch for him to get there because he doesn't have the awards. But
Yeah. Also, and I just want to make sure, Robert, I saw you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
But yeah, that's all I got on this one. Austin, any other final thoughts? The other one we didn't mention. I didn't mention much on him, but I think Kevin. I know this is before your time, Austin, but Kevin Young back in the early 2010s. Honestly,
Back in my day.
is the KJ Adams of that era, but had a better
Yeah.
impact on the floor because he was more versatile and played in a better system with guys around him, with Thomas Robinson and Jeff Withy. But yeah, love that. Thought this was a lot of fun. Those of you in the comments, thank you so much for sticking this out with us, having fun. If you guys have ideas for things you'd like us to talk about, KU basketball, KU football, sports in general, you can always hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok at KCSA Pod. Would love to get any of that. You can also DM any of us there or tweet at us. Would love to get some ideas for future episodes. What else? Let's see you on the cord. Yep. But yeah, that's it. KU's got another matchup this weekend. Won't have an actual game preview probably for any of the next 3. Maybe we'll probably do one for senior night for Arizona and talk about how that's going to go. Especially coming off these next 2 games. But yeah, over the next few weeks, things to look forward to. We're going to talk a little bit about KU football, mostly the guys in the NFL draft. Got some things in the works there. And then I would love if Spencer will ever hop on a podcast with us. We're going to talk some NBA because I got some hot takes in the NBA I got to get off, especially watching the embarrassment that was the All-Star weekend. I got some ideas to fix this. But yep,
Jeez.
that's it. That's it. I got a great one. Spencer and I have been talking it out, but we'll save that. We'll save that for a podcast. But yeah, if you guys have anything you guys would like for us to discuss on the pod, throw them our way. Put them in the comments. Tweet at us. Whatever. Would love to talk about it. But that'll wrap it up for this one. We appreciate you guys as always. Make sure you like and subscribe. Send the podcast to 5 friends. Let's keep building this channel up. Get to 2,000 followers next. I would love it. But, well, until next time, guys. Rock chalk.
Rock chalk.
Rock chalk.